The Politics program is brought to you, as always, by TakePoliticsSeriously.com. That's where you can support the show. Give me $3 a week, and I'm going to give you 3 podcasts a week. Yeah, you're always going to get this one for free, but you get one on Monday, and you get one on Friday. This Monday, I actually I cleared the dance floor and talked all about John McCain. We're going to talk a little bit about John McCain here, but I told some personal stories about how I got into caring about politics because, spoiler alert, it was about John McCain's run in 2000. So you can get that episode if you upgrade your pledge or pledge for the first time right now at TakePoliticsSeriously.com. Enough of talking about how we support the show. What do you say we just do the damn thing?
Politics, 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 politics. Yes. Come on, come on, come on.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is your boy, Justin Robert Young here. Politics, but, I mean, what do you say we just get started? We get started on a high note, huh? Here's some sound from last night after a victorious Ron DeSantis, the Republican selection for the governorship of Florida, took to Fox News to talk about his surprise competition, a Democrat by the name of Andrew Gillum, who, for context, is an African-American man.
He is an articulate spokesman for those far left views, and he's a charismatic candidate. And, you know, I watched those Democrat debates. None of that was my cup of tea. But, I mean, he performed better than the other people there. So we've got to work hard to make sure that we continue Florida going in a good direction. Let's build off the success we've had on Governor Scott. The last thing we need to do is to monkey this up by trying to embrace a socialist agenda. Scott, the last thing we need to do is to monkey this up by trying to embrace a
What?
Going in a good direction. Let's build off the success we've had on Governor Scott. The last thing we need to do is to monkey this up by trying to embrace a socialist agenda with huge tax increases and bankrupting the state.
So, Allie, there has been backlash against Mr. DeSantis.
Who's first in line today for the poop buffet? We are always bringing new listeners into our fold, so allow me to introduce you to the poop buffet. Every once in a while, a politician does something so stupid that they have to spend a day eating nothing but poop. Ron DeSantis, welcome. Welcome to the poop buffet. You know, the funny thing about that gaffe is that he got articulate and performed before he worked in "Don't Monkey This Up." Like, I get it. There were a lot of people who did not believe that Andrew Gillum was going to be a part of this general election. So maybe you had to throw out the book of opposition research that you had leading into this, and now you are, trying to improv a little bit. But this is what we like to call in the business a gaffe. G-A-F-F-E. You see? This is a problem. This is an issue. Now, a lot of people in the chat are like, well, I didn't even know it was racist, and that sure was an unfortunate choice of words. And we saw a little bit in the pre-show, people were like, well, I don't know if that means he's racist. And I don't know if it means that he's racist either. But let me be clear. Let's dispense with this fiction that political speech is real speech. Political speech is not real speech. Political speech is advertisement. Political speech is product shaping. Political speech is trying to get the word out. So, say it with me, kids. On a predetermined date, you can get more people to walk into a booth and press your button. That's it. So imagine that we were not talking about politics, and imagine that we were instead talking about selling candy bars. And there were two different kinds of candy bars. And on one of the advertisements, instead of saying rich milk chocolate and nougat, it said rich milk chocolate and the N-word. Now, this would not be talking, you wouldn't be thinking that, oh, one candy bar thinks another candy bar is racist. But which candy bar do you think would sell more? The one with the racial slur on it or the one without? I'd probably guess that the one without would be thought of higher than the one with. And by the way, this is day one of the general election. In fact, it was pre-day one. It was night one of the general election. They had both, the final results had both come in on either side. And now there was this. So there's a lot of people that are like, oh, things happen. Fine. I get it. I'm not saying that Ron DeSantis is a Klan hood-on racist. I'm saying he fucked up. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, he is today's inductee into the poop buffet. Please make your way in, Ron. You can go to the salad bar. You just make, yeah, that's poop too. Take as many doggy bags as you want. Yeah. Don't worry. Take it all home. It's fine. All you can eat. By the way, the doors are locked from the outside. So yeah, you can't. No, yeah. Just sit down. Enjoy. We got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about John McCain. We're going to talk about your expectations for the other party, whomever the other party might be. I'm curious to hear about your expectations from the other party. And we're going to talk about a local politician up here in my neck of the woods, Sonoma County, which is north of me, being slut-shamed for Burning Man photos, as well as the ascendant star of Beto O'Rourke in the Lone Star State. But before we get into any of that, let's talk about John McCain. John McCain died over the weekend. It was almost to the day, a year since he announced that he had brain cancer, inoperable brain cancer. On Friday, he announced that he had stopped treatment for it, and on Saturday, he was dead. I'm going to very intentionally not talk about his relationship with Trump because I think it's kind of been overblown, to be honest with you. I think even if he were best buds with Donald Trump, that we should probably be focusing more on what made him a remarkable and interesting and at times from both sides reviled politician than necessarily the fact that two strong-willed dudes hated each other. And they did hate each other. So here's all I'll say about it. They fucking hated each other. I didn't expect anything less or more from Donald Trump going forward. I'm glad he begrudgingly released a statement and that we didn't have to spend another day talking about whether or not the flags were at half-mast. I know Lindsey Graham got killed for this, but I agreed with him when he said, you want to know what? They didn't see eye to eye. Let's move on. Because this is what I want to move on to. John McCain was fucking hated by a lot of people. And in fact, that's probably the thing that I think of first when I think of John McCain. Not that he's an unpopular politician. We're going to get into unpopular politicians a little bit later, like Ted Cruz, right? But John McCain was reviled by not only the left, but also the far right. It's kind of remarkable that he won the GOP nomination in 2008 when so much of the base, specifically in the era of the nascent Tea Party, obviously thought he was the worst possible pick. So let's kind of get into this. John McCain came from the Goldwater family tree. If you don't know who Barry Goldwater is, do yourself a favor. If you like this show, then I think you kind of like a more historical take on a lot of these things. And if you're not familiar with how important Barry Goldwater was to the Republican Party post-1960, then you really should read up. Effectively, the Republican and Democratic parties through the 50s and what we can kind of understand to be the modern formation of these parties had different wings to it. They had liberal and conservative wings. Ultimately, they were a collection of party organizations because in that era, in a pre-mass communication era, party bosses mattered a lot. So it didn't really matter whether or not you were ideologically pure. It mattered whether or not you could plug into the same party system. They were fairly regionally defined, with the Democrats having their stronghold in the South and the Republicans really having not only a shared portion of the North, but also the West and the mountain region. Barry Goldwater was one of the first people that came out of the woodwork and said, no. The Republican Party needs to be the conservative party. We will attract more by becoming an ideological party. This is how we understand the modern Republican and Democratic parties. They're not about party bosses. They're not about party organizations. Sure, those exist, but you can microwave those to a certain extent, as Donald Trump showed us in 2016. What you can't do is give up on the brand, the marketing of being a conservative. And Barry Goldwater was one of the first big, gigantic steps forward in saying this is what a modern party needs to be. So, John McCain is, right now, we're going to get a replacement for John McCain based on Governor Ducey in Arizona. Someone's going to take that seat. Previous to that person, there are two people that sat in that seat, John McCain and Barry Goldwater. That's how long we're going back, all right? He is somebody, Barry Goldwater was somebody that was very much a states' rights, libertarian conservative. For all the good and bad of that, whatever you think of those phrases. John McCain is somebody that has a remarkable political legacy considering where he came from to where he ended. He starts getting Barry Goldwater seats, okay? Barry Goldwater's seat. And his last major political act is protecting a national health care program. Okay? Like, these are the dichotomies that we need to understand John McCain in. And in the middle, holy shit, ups and downs. I'm not going to talk a lot about his military service, by the way, because I do believe that is beyond honest criticism. No matter what you want to say about how everything went and whether or not he used racial slurs before, during, or after his imprisonment in a POW camp, I'm not up in that plane. I'm not serving in Vietnam. I don't know what that's like. That motherfucker spent 6 years in a POW camp. To me, that ends it. You might have a different opinion. That's not mine. We move on. John McCain had some lowlights. The MLK vote, which he eventually came to very much regret. That was the beginning of a national Martin Luther King Day holiday. He voted against it. He was part of the Keating Five. This was a savings and loan scandal in the 80s. He was one of only 5 senators that was caught up in a massive financial scandal. But, and also, whatever you think of being a war hawk, there was no doubt that that man was a hawk. He very much believed in the power of the American military to shape the world. For whatever you think of that. He was an interventionalist. No doubt. But he was never... let me put this the right way. John McCain, for a politician, he was less afraid to buck a trend than others. Politicians, by their very nature, are kind of scared, risk-averse creatures because the real job of a politician is to get elected, and risks tend to be more, tend to make unpredictable your ability to get elected more than they are resume builders. Every risk you take has an ability to fuck up, and if the only thing that you want to do is not fuck up because incumbents always have an advantage to get reelected, then you tend not to take a lot of risks. More so than most politicians, John McCain did. He ran for president twice. He supported the surge in Iraq at a time when Iraq was looking like Vietnam. But let's focus on the presidential runs. I went into more detail on this with the Monday PX3 Extra, and I would encourage you guys, if you're interested in supporting the show for $3 a week, then you will automatically get access to that. So I'm not going to rehash the whole thing. But I became a politically aware person first because of the Monica Lewinsky scandal, and then shortly after that, I got into the 2000 election, and I liked John McCain. I liked John McCain because of one answer to a question. He was asked if his daughter were to become pregnant and not want the baby, and said to John McCain that she wanted an abortion, how would he handle it? And he said, ultimately, it would be up to her. That while he is somebody that is very staunchly pro-life, and somebody that has put his money where his mouth is when it comes to adoption. That dude, you can point out a lot of people, a lot of pro-life people, and say, well, if you're so for adoption, then why don't you got a bunch of kids? John McCain had a bunch of kids. He would leave it up to her. And he got fucking crucified for it. Now, look, I'm not going to be a Pollyanna. John McCain very carefully crafted his maverick image because he knew he was running against George W. Bush in that primary. He needed another lane. He couldn't be the safe Republican in a race with the son of a former president. But I thought that was something extraordinary. And I was baffled by the fact that he was getting dumped on for it. I thought it was reasonable. I thought it was reasonable to say, yeah, I hold my belief. I hope I could impart that to my daughter, but for whatever reason, if that wasn't the case, then it wouldn't be. Now, he later backtracked. He backtracked and said that it would be a family decision. But that one question got me interested in politics. In fact, it got me passionate about politics. A lot of people criticize me because I don't have skin in the game when it comes to politics. I don't root for somebody. Literally every other show that you're going to listen to, people are trying to convince you to vote for their candidate. Conservative, liberal, confirmation bias theater. This is the stock and trade of political media in general. Is let me convince you to do it. And I've said this once and I will say it again. If I were smart, I would do it. I would just pick a side and I would decide that this is the thing I'm going to do. I'm just going to hitch my wagon to a certain person and I'm going to be their publicity agent and I'm going to carry their water and I'm going to get as close to them as possible and I'm going to keep defending these certain things and I'm going to just attract people who are like-minded. So I would be like Ace Tig here in the in the chat, and I would say that John McCain was a hypocrite when he said that he would let his daughter choose because he was still pro-life. It was just for his daughter. That was worse than saying anything to the contrary. He just should have been an asshole and said he was pro-life. I would confirmation bias. I would confirm that what I saw in the chat was right. And I was like that after that John McCain quote. I like John McCain. I was rooting for John McCain. I donated his campaign, but it was short-lived. After winning a surprise upset in New Hampshire, the rubber met the road in South Carolina. And this was Thunderdome. This was whether or not George W. Bush was really in trouble, whether or not he was fucked. If he lost in South Carolina, he would be like over. It'd be over for these hoes. And things got dirty in South Carolina. Whisper campaign that John McCain had a black baby. A baby by way of a New York City hooker. It used insinuation that the child, I forget how old she was at the time, but she was a child that was palling around with the McCains, was indeed that black baby that was had out of wedlock. That wasn't. It was John McCain's daughter that he had adopted from Bangladesh. It was racist and it was ugly, and John McCain lost. And it was at that moment that the brief, passionate Justin Robert Young, the one who rooted for politicians with all of my heart, died. What came up in its place was the man that you know today. The one who was like, wait a minute. How does this happen? Why am I following these narratives? Why did I get so excited? And what's really going on? And I never really rooted for a politician again. Maybe I will at some point. You know, people change. But that was it. I didn't really root for John McCain in 2008. Also, by the way, John McCain barely got that nomination. He really got all he got that nomination because everybody else fell apart. John McCain fired his campaign staff in that race. Rebooted it, and then, you know, in the face of Barack Obama, you know, was kind of a sacrificial lamb. You know, what he wanted to do in that race was to have Joe Lieberman be his running mate. That was the idea, a unity ticket. And ultimately, the greatest legacy for John McCain was indeed left unwritten. Because that probably would have been number one in the bio. The man who ran the first unity ticket. Didn't happen. Wound up going with Palin. We all know. We all know how that went. John McCain is dead. I don't think that John McCain is somebody that we need to pretend was a saint. I don't think that we need to pretend that John McCain was consistent. I don't think that we need to pretend that we need to like McCain if you don't. Because again, for the right, he was the quintessential rhino. If you looked up rhino in the dictionary, you'd see a picture of John McCain with a horn sticking out of his face. But if you care about politics, if you want to know the history of this, then you need to know about John McCain. You do. All right. Let's go ahead and get into a little bit of a lighter story. This is from Sonoma County. We read now from a Washington Post story. As soon as Rachel Huntley saw the link, her heart sank. A city council member in the small, quiet city of Sonoma, California, Huntley was working from home on August 13th when a message from an unfamiliar email address popped into her inbox. What she read stunned her. The anonymous email accused the 35-year-old Huntley of being immoral and unethical. It then suggested that she drop out of the race for re-election in November. She read the note a few more times before the reality of the threat set in. Then she clicked the link. All right, I'm pausing the podcast. Guys, I'm begging you here. We didn't do the warning at the beginning, but try to stay on topic and try to just keep the bricks of text to a minimum, because when we're doing this live, like I really want, it's important to me that the chat is part of the conversation visually, and it's not that if everyone's just going back and forth with paragraphs. We got a Discord. Please go to the Discord, bit.ly/jury Discord. If you want to have a longer form conversation about this kind of stuff, you're more than welcome to be there. We welcome all that. But just for the podcast, it's the only time that I ask that we don't go kind of long form with this stuff. Just please try to keep it a civil conversation so it doesn't become personal and we don't get into the paragraph stuff. All right, that's literally all I'm asking from you. All right, we're gonna start again. The now disabled website Rachel Huntley Exposed attacked Huntley for her stance on divisive issues while mayor of Sonoma. It contained photographs mined from Hunley's social media accounts, including some showing her in a bra and underwear working at Burning Man, the famed art and music festival. The site, supposedly created by an organization called Sonoma Citizens for Peace and Cooperation, called Hunley a cruel and demented person who was a cancer that needed to be cut from the community. Hunley responded in a video. Here is that video.
Wine bar that's associated with a consent-focused, sex-positive.
All right, here, hold on, wait. Let's scoot back a little bit. This is her describing what she was doing at Burning Man.
Internationally renowned arts and culture festival and an event I've proudly and openly attended. For the last several years at Burning Man, I have voluntarily managed a well-known wine bar that's associated with a consent-focused, sex-positive theme camp. Yes.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, if you ever needed to know that all politics are local, then dig this. This is the recognized defense of, hey, there was somebody that was trying to blackmail me about some pictures of me in a bra and underwear. I was being slut-shamed, and here was what I was doing. This is my set the record straight explanation.
I've proudly and openly attended. For the last several years at Burning Man, I have voluntarily managed a well-known wine bar that's associated with a consent-focused, sex-positive theme camp.
A consent-focused, sex-positive theme camp. Perfect. And she even goes so far. Here, go ahead for the cheap pop here, Rachel.
Yes, even in the middle of the Nevada desert, I get to talk about Sonoma Valley wine.
There we go. The chief export, Sonoma Valley wine. Even at Burning Man, she's pouring cups at a consent-focused, sex-positive theme camp. I don't quite know if saying that, let's say, in Mobile, Alabama, is going to be something that gets you elected to the city council. But in Sonoma, she has now become officially the most famous politician in Sonoma because she got attacked for this and she came back at it so frankly. So a salute to you, Rachel Hunley. Burning Man is this weekend, so I hope she is back there filling cups at a consent-focused, sex-positive theme camp even now. And I hope she brings some campaign literature to pass out while she's doing it. Here's a question I want to ask y'all. We're going to confirm a Supreme Court justice who's got a picture of his dick out on the internet, right? Like, that's going to happen. We're just at a point now where everybody's going to be taking a picture, and it's all going to be on the internet. And at some point, it'll be like, well, you know, Justice Post Malone does have some very racy pictures on the internet. Oh, well, he's a legal scholar. Welcome to the Supreme Court. Does Kavanaugh have a dick pic on the net? Do we know that? Is that a case? Is that a thing? Do we know whether or not that's a case? We should figure that out. Everybody else wants to see, the notes he took when he was in the Bush administration. I just want to know whether or not, honestly, have you ever taken a picture of your dick? Hey, look, we all vet our own different way. You can vet the way you want. I'll vet the way I want. You got any dick pics? We got to know. I mean, imagine he gets on the Supreme Court. He's appointed for life. All of a sudden, a dick pic leaks. Come on. What are we going to do then? Probably use it as a teaching moment. He's not going to leave. He's not going to step down. But I'd prefer to know now. Okay, this is just an open question. I want to ask this of you. Because after John McCain stepped down, there became this question of like, okay, well, is John McCain a kind of Republican that I like? What is an anti-Trump Republican? Will Governor Ducey replace John McCain with a Trump-friendly Republican or a Trump antagonist Republican in the way that John McCain was in the Senate? Because, by the way, if John McCain wasn't in the Senate during the skinny repeal vote, then Obamacare would have been skinny repealed. If he was just a dude who was sympathetic to the Trump agenda, that would have been a wrap. So here's what I want to ask, and I want to ask this of both blue team and red team. Honestly, what do you expect from the other party? The best example, and I'll tell you what, list for me the best example you can of the other party. Who do you like? Who do you respect? And short of like and respect, who's the closest simulacrum to that? Who can you tolerate? Who do you find to be decent? But more so than that, what do you want out of it? Because I have a suspicion. But you want to know what? I'll hold my suspicion until next week. Just go with that writing prompt. What do you expect from the other party? Go ahead and write me. theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Eureka Geek. Yeah, make them alive. Not old. It's a cop-out to go with dead people. Is skinny repeal considered sex positive? Asked Laura for real. It's certainly body positive, I guess. I want to talk to you guys about the Texan Trudeau. Beto O'Rourke. Oh my good God. Beto O'Rourke has risen. We are watching that motherfucker get the full Trudeau. Oh my God. That tall drink of water, floppy ass hair. He is getting every little inch of the Trudeau car wash. Ooh, he's handsome. Ooh, he's bold. Ooh, he's been cool for years. Just see the video of Trudeau or of Beto skateboarding. How do you do, fellow kids? I'm skateboarding to the Senate. Now, it is my opinion that the full rock star car wash happens in a couple phases. First, you got to have the raw material. You got to have anywhere from a 5 to a 10, right? Good looking enough. Doesn't have any specifically jarring physical features. Got to be in good shape, right? You don't have to be like Paul Ryan washboard abs, but you got to be something that somebody could have a sex dream about. You have to be willing to get into the issues of the day. That's a big thing. But more than anything, you gotta be close. Nobody wants to talk about the pretty little loser. No. You have to be ascendant. You have to prove that you can get into striking distance. And then culturally, the media will shine you up. They will put that Beatles wig on you and march you right onto that Ed Sullivan stage, to use a fossilized reference. They will make sure you wear that suit and get ushered onto the Arsenio Hall stage so you can play your saxophone, so we can all pretend that a saxophone's really fucking cool. They'll push you right out there so you can pretend that you know something about theoretical physics that you read off Wikipedia 5 seconds ago. This is what's happening with Beto, but let's make no bones about it. The reason why you can do that is because in Texas, as a Republican, he is within shouting distance. He has been pestering literally all of my Texas friends who are liberals with nonstop text messages about how close 5 percentage points in Texas is. But let's go ahead and take a peek at those polls right now, friends. What do you say? Because, ladies and gentlemen, we've got new data. And for those newbies here on this show, baby, there's only one way that we break down data science. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to a Lone Star stage.
Get on the floor if you got that booty.
Dance, 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 dance.
That booty.
This is an Emerson poll taken from August 22nd to August 25 with a sample size of 550 registered voters, a 4.4% margin of error. Stepping up first to the stage with 38%. Skateboarding, guitar strumming, anthem protest defending. The Democratic challenger. His name is Beto. But your headliner, barely not a co-headliner, with 39% of the vote. He is the sitting Texas senator from the Republican Party. He is the man with aspirations. He is the man whose aide liked a pornography video on Twitter that suspiciously looked like his wife. Ladies and gentlemen, his name is Ted Cruz. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is Beto 38, Cruz 39, A1 point spread. That's close, folks. That's close. Cruz was 49% a couple months ago. Let's go ahead and take a look at that real clear politics trend line. What was his widest lead? This was in June. He had a 10-point lead. In low, so the higher the people surveyed, the more breathing room he has. But make no mistake, if Labor Day is the kind of beginning of when non-presidential races really get started, this is a race. And you know what this means. There's only one call that Ted Cruz can make to turn on the afterburners. There's only one person that Ted Cruz can call to have the cavalry show up. And it's the same dude who called Cruz's dad a fucking Kennedy murderer. That's Donald J. Trump. The most likely way that Ted Cruz can put distance between him and Beto is having Donald Trump start shitting on Beto. It's about Donald Trump hugging Ted Cruz at a rally in Fort Worth. And let's remind ourselves that we are a little over 2 years away from Ted Cruz refusing to endorse Donald Trump on stage at the Republican National Convention. Ooh. 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 That's going to be fun to watch. Let's go ahead and get into But Your Emails. TheYoungAmerican@gmail.com. Again, TheYoungAmerican@gmail.com. Real quick in the chat room, Stoic Squirrel writes, wouldn't Trump coming to Texas also rile up the liberals? Yes, but the argument would be that the liberals are already riled and there's more Republicans in Texas. So you're more likely to win if you're going to rile up both parties. Like, the Democrats kind of need the Republicans to sleep to win. The Republicans need to turn out. If everyone turns out, if it's a high turnout, Democrats can't really beat Republicans in Texas just by the numbers. So, there's that. Strike It Rich writes, 55%, according to a new poll, 55% of blue-collar workers say they are better off now than they were 5 years ago. 20% say they are worse, and 26% say they are doing just about the same. Hey, look. The economy is a +2 per quarter persistent gain or drain on whatever party's in power. You're always going to be able to say, hey, the economy's good. Look at us. We're currently in charge. +2. If it's bad, hey, look, the economy sucks. Look who's in charge. -2. That's just that. The economy's good right now. If the economy's still good in 2020, it means the incumbent party is going to be hard to beat. Carl writes, I'm about a month behind on episodes, but when you brought up the idea of Hillary running again, something interesting piped into my head. What would involve two people smiling wide for the crowd as one of them is seething in their shoes? What could cause a ton of blue teamers going to the ER as their heads are torn apart by simultaneous hope and despair? Obama-Clinton 2020, i.e. Michelle Obama for president, Hillary Clinton for vice president. Hillary Clinton will sooner turn her skin inside out than run for vice president. AMO. But certainly an interesting perspective. Stoic Squirrel says, what about Chelsea? Michelle and Chelsea, on the other hand. Now you might be cooking with gas. Keith writes, I noticed something today. I happened across a BBC article about the Mesa, Arizona cops being cleared of any wrongdoing in the beating of Robert Johnson. I read their article and thought that I would have seen it in a U.S. news source. Fox, nothing. CNN, nothing. MSNBC, you guessed it, nothing. I Googled Mesa cops cleared, and the only thing that came up were two Arizona sources and the BBC article. I thought it was so odd, so I continued to work, figuring the media would catch up later. It's now 7 hours later, and I haven't seen anything on my Google News headlines. I searched again and got the same results with only the addition of The Root, an African-American-centric news source. Seems kind of odd that the media isn't all over this. At the risk of sounding like I'm typing with a tinfoil hat, it's kind of like the media is purposely not reporting this. Weird considering that we are living in a world where a sports car driver loses sponsorships based on racial slurs his father used 30 years ago. Here we are with a blatant abuse of a black guy of the police that is overlooked. I guess the NFL players seem to have a point. Anyway, as yours is the only politics show I can stomach, I thought I'd send this to you to see if you're noticing the same thing as me. Love the show, and we'll be contributing to you soon. P.S. If it helps, I'm white. All right. So my perspective is that very rarely is a story not getting covered about a story getting buried. People from the outside of the media, I think, tend to have a very different point of view as to how coverage happens. Where I would blame the media is that, specifically, if you're listing the 3 television news networks, please stop taking them as a good example of journalism. They're a bad example of journalism. They are literally ADD theater. They are there to keep you watching so you can buy gold or MyPillow or retirement insurance or diabetes medication. That's why they're there. Stop thinking that they're going to do anything good. Number 2, if those outlets and many other outlets are over-reliant on certain things. Right now, they are over-reliant on Trump. They cover literally everything Trump. Why? Well, because people like fighting about Donald Trump. And so you can either point at it and say, very rarely can you get Republicans and Democrats to agree on something. And right now, you can agree that they will watch fucking anything with Donald Trump's name on it. Because the left is going to say, fuck that guy. Finally, yet another example of this piece of shit. And the right is going to say, my president, look at him, triggering all those libs. Fuck them. But you're right. Sometimes the focus of 5 minutes ago gets lost because Donald Trump didn't like the Google searches he saw. I don't think it's about it being buried. I do think it is about it falling outside a maybe too narrow field of view, if that distinction makes any sense. Mike. Right, so I remember chatting with you about politics at Piano Fight post-election when you weren't sure if it would survive without a big ongoing national race dominating the news cycle. I'm glad you stuck it out. The show just keeps getting better. Can't wait to see where it goes next. Well, it's next going back to Piano Fight. Election night. We've got an election night special for the Wave Watch. Yep. The Wave Watch crashes on to Election Day, and I will be there to help recap everything that happened, all the best campaign ads, all the best flubs, all the best gaffes. I guarantee you Ron DeSantis is going to make it. And, of course, we will finally discover whether or not there was indeed a blue wave, and if there was, how far that wave splashed. So come on out. Piano Fight, election night, 7 p.m. Go ahead and just search for Piano Fight SF on Google, and you'll be able to find tickets. We have an angry email. We have not gotten an angry email in a while. If you have an angry email to write, go ahead and write it in, and I'll be happy to read it in the angry email voice. So, here's the thing about faux news and why people make a stink about it. These motherfuckers claim to be fair and balanced, and yet instead on focusing on the convictions, decide to focus on a story about an illegal immigrant killing a white woman. While cable news can be notoriously motivated by ratings, the facts are faux routinely. More than any other network, be it cable, 24-hour, or network, twists, lies, distorting the facts. It's why the MAGA minions believe every word that 45 utters and thinks everything else is fake news when it comprises about 25 to 30% of the population in this country. It's kind of important. Anyway, that's why people pointed out Obama wears a tan suit. It blows the fuck up on Fox News as a huge scandal. President Peeps get indicted. Let's report on an illegal killing of some white chick to not only change the narrative but bury the story by saying, look at what the brown person or Jew did. Same shit Germany pulled in the 30s and 40s. Watch out for them goblins in chainmail, bro. Only Alex Jones can save you. Make sure you write your angry email. Say that it's an angry email, and I'll read it in the angry email voice. I don't agree. It just kills me. It fucking kills me how much that sounds like Glenn Beck in 2009. It just sounds so much like, it's almost like Mad Lib style Glenn Beck in 2009. Look, I didn't talk about Molly Tibbetts? I didn't talk about the Molly Tibbetts thing a lot. I understand why it gets covered. Why does a mass shooting get covered and not a mass food poisoning? 2 people died in a mall in Jacksonville on Sunday night, and that was covered. A lot more people were injured. 2 people died from bad Chick-fil-A, and a lot of other people got sick. It would not be covered. Why? Well, because gun control is a very heated issue in this country right now, and that's something that a lot of people care about. The effect of guns on this country is something that is monitored closer. I tend to think, despite the fact that I find the Tibbetts murder to be less newsworthy, the fact that illegal immigration is something that a lot of people are focusing on, an illegal immigrant killing a woman is something that a lot of people care about, and it will be catered to. Now, the fact that Fox News would take every opportunity to find any little shitty thing about Obama and blow it up is true. That's what they do. They're a 24-hour news network. You know, if only we had a counterfactual of liberal news networks garnering gigantic ratings by highlighting anything negative, big or small, about a Republican president. I wonder where we'd find that. Aside from MSNBC this week. $1 William writes, last week when you were talking about Michael Cohen flipping, something occurred to me. Everything is talking about collusion or obstruction, but there is a third option I hadn't heard anyone discussing. What if Cohen has information about crimes unrelated to the presidency? At this point, do you think that there's a non-political crime Cohen could tell the Mueller team about which is small enough that Trump will get by without being impeached? I'm not asking rhetorically. I'm generally trying to find the line. It at least has to be a felony, right? They won't fire Trump for the equivalent of public urination. What do you think? How many months sentencing would a crime have to carry for Donald Trump to not to get impeached for it? I tend to think that that barrier would be really high in a crime that would have happened before he became president. I think we're talking about like murder or kidnapping or something like that. Like, that would have to be the line. Other than that, you're looking at things that happened during the campaign or happen while he was president. At least that's my opinion. All right. Folks, big news. If you are in Atlanta this weekend, Sunday, 7 p.m. in the Hilton, I am going to be doing a live politics. That will likely be the episode for next week. May do some supplemental stuff to give you some fix in case a big thing winds up breaking down. Winds up breaking. But we are going to be talking very much so. Oh, sorry, not 7 p.m. 5:30 p.m. Sunday, September 2nd, 5:30 p.m. In the Hilton, Atlanta. That is Galleria 6. Galleria 6. That is Sunday, September 2nd, 5:30 in the Hilton, Atlanta, Galleria 6. We'll be talking a lot about the Atlanta, Georgia governor's race because we've talked about it a lot on this show. I want to talk about it with Georgians, real Georgian voters. I want to talk about Let Jake Smash. I want to talk about the possible first black woman governor. I want to talk about all of it. We're getting all of it. Ooh, baby, I'm going to get fist deep in the Peach State this Sunday, 5:30, Hilton, Galleria 6, live, politics. It's worth it to get a day pass because you're going to get that show and the final night attack ever at Dragon Con if you get a day pass for Sunday. It's the less crowded day too. A+. If you are in the Atlanta, Georgia area, I would very much recommend getting a day pass, coming to see the PX3 live show at Dragon Con, and then at 10 o'clock that night, we have the final night attack. It'll be a GD blast.
Politics.
That's about it for us. Until Sunday, remember, friends, that you can email us, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Music has been provided by Valesco and Trop Killers. You can follow me at Justin R. Young everywhere there's a social media. Remember, if you have Amazon Prime, you can give me money for free. Doesn't take any money out of your pocket. You already paid for Prime. Just Google Twitch Prime. Head over to my channel, Justin R. Young. Subscribe for free. If you did it last month, doesn't auto-renew, unfortunately. You got to do it every month. Here's your monthly reminder. Download archive episodes of this show at bonerwars.com. And please, friends, remember, some shows talk about politics. Some shows talk about politics. And there was another show that I heard that talked about politics. But this is the only one that talks about all three.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.